Hey everyone, let's wrap up October. And October has been a much more normal average reading month than I've probably had in a while. But first let's look at videos I uploaded, because I managed to vlog a reset weekend where I tried to get back on track with things and really reset myself a little bit. It didn't work completely, but I talk about books in that vlog as usual. I also looked at the goals I set myself, and we have a check-in for Q3 and probably not that much of an outlook for Q4. And I went on a mental health walk with October in my letter to October. Thank you all for participating in all the videos and commenting. And if you haven't seen them yet, no worries, they're still there. Now let's get into the books. Like I said, October was a much more relaxed reading month. I didn't prioritize reading, and so I had to go back to work and prioritize work a little bit. Let's start with The Girl with No Reflection. I uploaded a single review for this one even, and I listened to it on audiobook. This is a fantasy inspired by Imperial China, and we have in the beginning, a young woman who's about to marry the prince, and the prince is not nice to her. She's very unhappy about the situation and is always locked away in the palace when her mirror, or her reflection in the mirror, starts talking to her. And that's where the story begins. Her reflection basically says, I need to rest a little bit in the sunshine. Can we swap places? My prince here is much nicer than your prince, so you can take a break from the grumpy one and spend some time with the nice mirror prince we have. And stories continue, things happen. It's very captivating. I really enjoyed the story. Basically, the world has our world, and on the other side of the mirrors, there is a different world, and there is some more history to the connections between these worlds and all of that. You find that out as you read slowly. You also find out more about the characters and who's good, who's bad, and that's the fun part of the book I really enjoy. As usual, I went into this blind as it was a complete cover buy for me. I fell in love with the cover and I just couldn't resist getting it, and I enjoyed it very much, so that was nothing bad. But I didn't know what I was getting into aside from a prince marrying a princess and something like that. That's all I knew. So for the first third of the book I was confused who to trust, who's good, who's bad, where does the story go, who are the good people, what is happening, and that was fun. I really enjoyed the grayness of the storytelling, the insecurity of our main character, even though it is very annoying whom she trusts easily and whom she doesn't trust, and the way she comes to decisions. She's very impulsive, but that's also fun. We see her grow throughout the book. We at some point find out who are the bad guys, who are the good guys, and that changes the momentum of the story a little bit more. And I highly recommend it if you're in any way interested in fantasy based on Chinese mythology and Chinese history. I really enjoyed this. I also enjoyed this for the fact of the character growing and the insecurity of who's good, who's bad, and that. It was really well done. Highly enjoyed it. Then let's continue with the only physical book I read. The Proposal is very short. I flew through it in 2 days. It reads really, really fast and it just grabs you. But I noticed in preparing for the wrap-up that I don't really remember what it was about or what it wanted to do. The book is mostly told through letters that a space-born person writes to his Earth-born girlfriend. And we learn about the world that there were some prophecies of aliens or some force attacking Earth. So Earth invested a lot of money into creating a fleet that is in space. And since it's been a while since that happened, there are people who are born in space now. And our narrator or letter writer is one of them. And they are still in touch with Earth and the Earthborns. That's how he met his girlfriend. And the whole story is, like I said, told through his letters, how the events unfold, how the attack happens, and who the attack is from, which I thought was pretty early on obvious, but that doesn't really destroy the enjoyment of the book, because you learn about the things the spaceborn or the letter writer thinks about, and the thoughts he has on the relationship and the others, and on the intricacies and conspiracies that are going on, and who's good, who's bad. All these things are very captivating. But at the end of it, I'm not really sure what this wanted to tell me, and I forgot about it very, very fast. So it is an enjoyable read. You could probably deep dive and remember things more than I did, but I basically enjoyed reading it and the world. Let's continue with a series I'm currently reading. Spice and Wolf is a light novel series which I am reading when I'm stressed. Let's say it like that, because the books are very similar in their design. They're very easy to read and they're very stress-free, despite each one having an adventure and a challenge. I read books 3, 4, and 5. So Spice and Wolf is sort of a fantasy that follows a merchant and a woman that can also turn into a wolf because she's a wise wolf. So in her woman form, she has wolf ears and a tail. And those two met in the first book and started traveling together. Mostly the merchant promised to accompany the woman to her hometown where she left about 500 years ago or so, and she forgot the way, and both of them really don't like to be alone and seek companionship. So throughout the books, they are bantering a lot, they're getting along, they're having adventures. Each book has about one challenge and a lot of mundane traveling and just moving from A to B. There's a lot about being a merchant and making deals and dealing with consequences of deals gone wrong or trying to make a profit. So nothing major dramatic, and I enjoy that. Even though the challenges are somewhat dramatic, they're not on the edge of my seat dramatic. That's why I find them very relaxing when everything else is a little bit overwhelming, and they're very easy to read. The writing is not super perfect. There are things where I prefer better writing. Also, in the last 2 books, I'm not really sure what I want to make of that. There was a casual mention that slavery is necessary, and I'm not really convinced that is true. So I don't know if that was just an offhand remark by the merchant or if that takes more of a topic or theme later on. And I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with reading on if that does. But so far, I'm quite enjoying that. I'm enjoying the characters, the relationship between the two of them, the banter, and the adventures. The next 2 books were the ones I read during the Reset vlog. It's Floating Hotel is a science fiction book that is set in a spaceship hotel, and it follows the crew of the spaceship and people coming and going. We have each chapter focusing on one of the characters, on one of the crew, and we get to know how they got there, we get to know about them and their past a little bit more, and also moving the story along. The story loosely follows that there is in this world a king who's been trying to find a spy, and they think that the spy is on the hotel. So that's the overall story. I really enjoyed the audiobook. The story was captivating. You learned about these characters. You really got to know each of them. You get to like them or dislike them. You saw how the hotel formed a found family for all of these characters and how they move on with the situation. You get a lot of information about the world and the background as you're going along. That was also really well done. And overall, I just enjoyed it. It was a fun space adventure. The City in Glass was not as successful. It's the new novel by Nghi, and I really enjoy her novella series, The Singing Hills Cycle. But with her novels, I don't get along as well. This one follows a demon who has made a city her own, and one day angels come from the sky, burn down the city, and everything is in ruins, everything she worked for, everything she enjoyed. And as a response, she curses one of the angels, apparently to fall in love with her. That's the curse, but not because she wants his love. So most of the book is following the demon, walking and grieving in this burned city, trying to clear it up and clean it up and make it habitable again. The angel comes and goes every now and then, helping and being annoyed and being annoying, and there is things going. It takes a lot of time where nothing happens. So there's not a lot of dialogue for most of the book, which makes it a lot of descriptions, which I don't usually mind, but I couldn't get into this. I don't know why. And then at some point, the city is populated again. There is some form of relationship evolving between the angel and the demon. Not love relationship, but they start living side by side and talking and getting along, and things happen. And that's the book. That's what I say the book is. I am not really sure what I should take out of this. I've heard from someone else who enjoyed it, so that's good. Might be me. Like I said, I really enjoy her shorter works, but I don't get along with her novels. And my battery is flashing. Okay, quickly, the last audiobook I listened to was Warbreaker, another one by Brandon Sanderson. This is a standalone I have a mixed relationship to. In the world, think of a world where you have two kingdoms that are on the verge of war. They both believe in different religions. One is very modest, has one god. The other is frivolous and has their gods living among them. And to avoid a war, there was a treaty where the modest kingdom sends one of the daughters of the kings to marry the god king and the frivolous kingdom. And that's where the story goes. We have it from multiple perspectives. And in the beginning, the pacing was really good. I really enjoyed it. But then in the middle, I felt it dragging a little bit and didn't really get along with it. So I just wanted it to end. And then the end felt rather rushed, even though it was still a few hours on the audiobook. It still felt more rushed. We are changing between the characters' perspectives a lot faster than we used to, and all of that. Now, the whole story makes sense. I really enjoyed it. Apart from Vivenna, one of the main characters, who's the princess that was supposed to go and marry the God King, but then someone else went. And then she sets out to rescue her sister, but it turns out it doesn't really work like she expected, and she is a very annoying character. She's very arrogant, and she's the embodiment of the modest religion, and she's very hypocritical. And throughout the book, she changes and she evolves. Yes, good for a character, but it's too obvious. The whole time she just feels like a plot device and not like a character, at least to me. I thought she's just there to point us in the right direction, what to think, what to judge, what to not judge, what to critically question, and thus moving us forwards. And she's also there to move the story forward, not only to show us what is going on and explain things, but yeah, I didn't feel that she was a character that is an interesting person and with a personality. She felt more like a plot device, and she really, really got on my nerves. So that's probably what destroyed or diminished the enjoyment of the book for me. Overall, I'm glad I listened to this 24 long audiobook, but not sure if it's for everyone. So I think that's it. Like I said, I didn't really read that much long form content or listen too much, but I had a good reading month. I got to a lot of things that I wanted to get to and that I enjoyed. So I enjoyed the time I spent reading. That's the most part that we want, right? Let me know in comments how your October reading went. Did you have a good month? Did you have a bad month? How are you doing overall? Is everyone okay?